to Family Promises Sharing Survival Stories Saturday, where we are interviewing a series of formerly homeless single moms, and they share their stories about their situation, their struggles, their challenges, and how they've overcome them. Family Promise of South Palm Beach County is an organization that helps to situationally homeless families get back on their feet again. And we have been blessed with a grant called the Be Well, Do Well grant from the Palm Health Foundation that is bringing this series to us called Sharing Survival Stories Saturday. And today we have the pleasure of interviewing or speaking with Luz Stella Rios, Ph.D., whom we met at the Hispanic Women of Distinction Awards, which she was one of the awardees. And when she started telling her story, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a great idea for a series of speakers. So welcome, Luz. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. So tell us just a little bit about your story and where you came from and how your story. Just share it with us.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It is a true honor, a pleasure to be here today, for you to consider my story as a story of encouragement and success to a certain level, especially coming from the situation that at one point of my life I had to encounter. So thank you so very much to the audience as well as to the organization. And yes, as a matter of fact, my story is one of many challenges. I never really see myself or see anything as problems. I always see them as challenges because it's easier to overcome challenges than to overcome problems. It all depends on how we label them. I did have a very successful life. I consider myself on the professional level as well as the personal side. Very lucky, very fortunate to have had a marriage. I have 2 children, and I had the opportunity to do what I wanted to do the most, which was to pursue my studies. I have a bachelor's degree in liberal arts with a minor in psychology. I also have a master's in administration and a doctorate in education and organizational leadership, specializing in human resource development.
Wow.
So I was able to achieve all the 3 degrees back to back while I was raising a family. And I have to say that because of the time where I was just close to achieving my latest degree, that my life truly changed and it was turned upside down. Because, like they say, when it rains, it pours. And that's exactly what happened in my life.
So up to this point, your background is you have a very loving family and supportive.
Yes.
You get married, you have children, you have a home, you're successful.
Yes.
And then you got sick.
And then things just went downhill from there.
Okay.
I not only got divorced, so I lost not just my marriage, but I lost my home. I lost just about everything that I owned, kept my 2 children, and before I could even realize what was happening in my life, I ended up with nowhere to go. I became homeless. Fortunately, I do have my sister who actually took me in her home. And
so let me ask you this. When you were faced with being homeless, the potential of being homeless, what was going through your head, your mind? What were you thinking?
What was going through my mind was that I had 2 children that I had to fight for. And that was my inspiration, and that there was nothing that I was not going to be able not to do in order to come out on the other side. And when I thought that was all, that was bad enough for me to handle, then I was giving a very sad news where now my health was in jeopardy, and I was given a diagnostic that, which required for me to be in the hospital, go through surgery, go through radiation, and it just brought more weight on top of what I already thought I could not handle. So dealing with my health, this was a life-threatening, life or death situation that if I made the wrong decision, that was not only going to affect me as a person, but my children. Yeah. So that's when you just have no choice but to turn to God. I needed guidance, and because of the culture where I come from, one of the things that I was always very afraid of was of just saying something that was going to scare everybody, that was going to make them feel like now I mean, what else can go wrong for her? I didn't want to become a victim and have my family see that, I mean, she's just going downhill so fast. So for me was to, the only option was to turn to God and say, you got to fix this for me. You have to give me some type of guidance, because the one thing that I am, I'm a woman of faith, and when all the door closes on you, you just have to keep knocking, because one of them will eventually open. And at that point, what I did was to, like I said, turn to God and have Him just talk to me and just guide me. And I started just taking one day at a time. And what I asked from Him was to give me something that I could hold on to, and that I was going to be so focused on that I would be able to manage the rest of the disaster that I was dealing with. I could not focus on what was going wrong, but I needed to focus on something that could go right. And it just so happened that I had just been accepted into the doctorate program. And I just did not know how I was going to do it, but I knew that that's exactly what I wanted, because that was going to disconnect me from the sad part of my life and put me into something to look forward to. And that's what I feel, that in times of challenges, you have to look for something that you can put all your passion, all your soul, all your energy, all your focus on, so that you don't own the problems and the challenges that you're facing. Why? Because these are temporary. That was my current situation. That was not going to be my permanent situation. And that's how I saw it. I said, I can certainly do something that would actually help me the rest of my life. I just needed to identify.
So your sister comes into the picture somehow.
Yes.
Right? What happened there?
Well, she actually took me in for a couple of months. So I thought.
Yeah.
And it just turned out to be many, many months, because not only did I have to face the illness that I had to go through the treatment. Because of the treatment and the surgery, I lost my job. So of course, it was a roller coaster. I would think I was going up, and then before I knew, I was going down again. But her support was just unbelievable, and I stayed there until I was able to get back on my feet, as far as being able to enroll. I took on the program, the doctorate program, and I gave it my all. That was the one thing that I did, was I refused to own that illness. I owe it, and everything else that was happening to me. I just felt that it was a temporary situation, and that I was going to be able to move forward. And I found the strength by focusing on what I really wanted to do, which was my studies. And I just kept dreaming from day one on the day that I was going to cross that stage and receive my degree. And lo and behold, I gave it my soul. All my time was focused on that. I dealt with every situation that I had to deal with, um, one day at a time. Um, I found a way to eventually find a home. I
So
moved in.
did you go back to work? At what point did you go back to work?
Right. After the treatment, I started going back. They gave me a few hours a week. So I started going back to work. And so I stayed part time eventually. Um, Once I got myself into the doctorate program, and I had done extremely well.
How well? Tell them how well you did.
Well,
4.0, I believe,
did,
right?
yes,
Yes.
I did so well that I was able to complete my doctorate with a perfect 4.0 GPA.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Look at
that,
smile you have. You're so proud,
yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I actually believe that. Um, I don't think that had I not been in the situation that I was in at that point and all the challenges that I was facing, I would have never put in the effort and the dedication in order to achieve a perfect GPA. That sometimes the things that happen to you that you don't think are that good, they're there for a reason. And I think that those were the things that were pushing me to be so good and to get my maximum potential and to prove to the world and to myself that I was able to nail a perfect GPA, and I did. And that opened so many doors. One of the things it was that the university actually contacted me and they said, "We want to hire you. Can you come and take over an undergraduate program?" Um, which consequently moved me up to a master's program. So I did become the professor for a master's of public administration for several years. But all in all, what I had in the back of my mind was always leading by example. I had two children that I wanted them to see what positive.
Let me ask you this:
Mhm.
if I were to speak to your kids,
Yes.
right, and if I asked them,
Yes.
what were some of the more inspiring moments or things about your mother? What do you think they would say?
Without a question, my determination to succeed, my perseverance, my not letting anything stop me,
And don't be a victim.
and exactly, do not feel that you um, are a um, um, how can I say, a loser. You're not.
Okay.
You are. You, this is just a challenge that you need to overcome. That's it. And you will overcome it. You just have to find a way, hold on to your faith, stay positive, take one day at a time. Not everything can be handled and fixed in one day. And gradually keep knocking on those doors. There's always hope. There one thing that I found was that no matter how bad the situation seemed, um, somehow, some way, there would always be an angel that somehow knocked on my door. Um, and that was what I needed to make it through the day and start a new day the next day. So your setbacks, I believe, are just meant to prove your faith and your resilience and see what you're made of and how bad do you want to come out of the challenging situation that you're in right now.
So one of the questions that I ask the mothers is what advice would you give? And you just laid it all out. So I didn't have to ask the question. You just laid it all out there. And so tell us where you are today.
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm doing several projects. One of the things that I have found, besides carrying my job, I still teach. I still have a couple of offers from another universities who are starting MBA programs that have requested for me to consider joining them. I am also now become speaker for some associations to speak on behalf of, um, again, challenging situations and taking care of your health as well, being proactive more than reactive. When it comes to taking care of you, this is that life is not only about taking care of others, but it starts with you.
Exactly
If you build this strong self confidence, then anything is possible. Challenges, there will always be. And I know I still have to, regardless of my level of education, regardless of my level of success, I know that there will be challenges along the way that I will have to face. But it's your attitude what determines how well or how fast you might just cross that bridge and move on. I believe that if you have an inspiration, whether they're your kids, whether they're your family, your friends, regardless of what it is, if you have a focus on what is it that you want to impact or who is it that you want to impact, that is a driving factor for you to do better every day. Nothing is going to change overnight when we think that's what we want and what we look forward, but it all requires a sacrifice. And for you to be on the other side and really see and value how far you've come, you actually sometimes have to stop and see how much you've actually have covered to get to the point.
That's a really important word that you just said, is value.
Yes.
Right? You have to value others. You have to value yourself. And oftentimes we don't do that with others.
Absolutely.
And to start, with yourself. And to respect yourself and have value, that just speaks volumes.
Yeah, because sometimes we tend to think of others all the time and we forget.
Especially being mothers.
Exactly. Yeah. That we forget that we are, in order for them to be successful, we have to lead by example. Yeah. And the level of success does not have to do with money or titles, or it has to do with self-confidence and being happy and showing that there is a good future for them, and that we will encounter challenges along the way, absolutely. However, it's just the attitude that you take towards it.
Exactly right. I mean, in our program, the mothers or the parents come in and they're homeless, right? So they're at a very low point in their life. And so often they'll suffer from anxiety and depression. Yes. But it is our goal to help them kind of to get your attitude, right? Set the goals, achieve them, and value yourself, and respect others.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I believe that the one thing that you have to hold on to is what is your biggest dream in life? If you can dream,
that's a good question.
If you can dream and see that being a reality, because if you have the power to dream it, that means you have the power to make it a reality. And when we are at a very low point in our lives, we think of those things as impossibles. However, if that is the driving factor to get you from where you are to where you want to go, then use that as your lifesaver. That is what you're going to hold on to, and you want to see and feel what it feels like to be where you want to get to. And if you see that, I used to see myself putting on my cap and gown. I used to see myself crossing the stage. I used to see myself getting the hug from the person who was going to hood me at the ceremony. I lived that every day, and I was at the bottom of the pit. I had no idea how I was even going to make it through the program. Never mind crossing the stage. Well, little did I know, I was able to do so, but I had to taste that. At my lowest point, I needed to think of that. And more importantly is the people who were in the audience, my family, my children, how proud would I make them? And just that was a driving factor for me to, I gotta do this. And when I did, and the moment that I did, to make, I was thinking, what am I going to wear? The shoes, the makeup, everything. It almost didn't happen because a week before, talk about challenges throughout the road, a week before my graduation, I had to be taken into the hospital and they had to do emergency surgery. I left 48 hours before my graduation, and I had to go into I went on stage to receive my diploma in a wheelchair because there was no way that I could even, walk. So I was wheeled into the James L. Knight Center, and I was wheeled out. but I
But you were there.
received and I
There,
got
you
it.
did it.
So of course it wasn't exactly how I wanted to look and everything, but it didn't matter because to me it was crossing the stage and holding on to what I had dreamed for so long, and now it was no longer a dream, it was a reality. So now I can actually look at my children and say, we did it together because they were right there. The support is always there. We always have to understand that no matter how tough life gets, we are important to someone.
And
We
to ourselves.
always,
Yes.
right? And there's always somebody who cares for us. And that even if we don't think they do, I mean, just look at this organization, not to go too far, okay? This organization exists because of people who truly care for those who are going through tough challenges. So in my situation, when I was encountering what I encountered, had I not, I wish I would have known that places like this, that this organization existed. Luckily, I had my sister, but had not that been the chance, I would have been out in the streets. And I have to say that this is a blessing, and it's something that people truly have to understand, that the reason why organizations like this exist is because of people who truly care
We want to help
and exactly, and want to help those who are going through temporary challenges.
Right. Situational
They
challenges,
are
right.
temporary challenges.
You
Yes.
know what? I really think it's a God thing that we all met, because
Yes.
at this awards luncheon,
Yes.
right? Of all the women that were there, who do you end up talking to but Jennifer Raymond, who's our
Yes.
executive director? And then when they
Yes.
shared her story, I was like, oh my gosh, we got to get her to speak. And sure enough, there you are. Luz, I cannot thank you enough. You are an inspiration. I think I'm going to have this video a requirement for all of the families coming forward.
Well,
You know, I think that might be a good
so.
idea,
I
because you're
think so.
so
It's-
inspirational and just the best.
Well,
So,
thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
It is my honor again, and I feel truly blessed to have been, there that day,
Right?
and share the stage with Jennifer, and then before we know, it's like I am here. I just hope that my story, in some way, shape, or form, can inspire somebody to continue fighting and to understand that there is always a tomorrow, that God is watching, and He's always there. He never leaves us, and He will never give us
And he's got a plan.
more
You might
than
not
we
like
can.
his plan, but
Right.
He has a plan.
He will never give us more than what we can handle. That's the one thing. It may seem that we can't take another challenge, but if He gives it to us, it's because we can.
We can. We just do it. All right.
We just have to stay positive.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.